Hi, I'm Eric from East Austin Succulents. We're just going to tell you today how to build a carport greenhouse. Well, the first step that you do is you get a carport installed on your property, and that's cheap. It's like $1,500, and it's cheaper because you're going to have them not build the aluminum roof on top, right? So all we want, and they'll do that in a couple hours. So that saves you the hardest part about building the greenhouse, which is setting the posts and all that stuff. So this is our fantastic carport greenhouse. The guys came and installed the carport in a matter of, a half an hour. They got it done, and that eliminates the very hardest part about building a greenhouse. Your hardest things are setting all the metal posts and bending the steel and all that stuff. That's all eliminated when they come and install this. And we really only have 4 corners. They tie in 4 corners because I don't want them to do all the rebar for everything, because we're setting posts in concrete anyway. So we have our 4 corners that they've done with rebar, and then we have our 4 spots in the middles where we have set our 4x4s in for really strong support. Once those are set in, you're going to screw that to the top. You want to stay flush with the front of the frame, and I like using these pre-hung doors, and so you just frame in your door. Now this is called polygal, and this is a special kind that that eliminates the UV rays. If you have really high sun right in the front of your house, you don't necessarily want clear like we did on the other house, because this is going to block some of the sunlight coming in. So you set your posts, you get your polygal walls. So the back, we just leave that whole panel out for the summer to have good airflow, and we also remove this top panel for the summer. Okay. And then the next thing that we do is we make a box. So this box here is mainly just to hold your channel for your wiggle wire. So in the winter we'll drop this plastic down and we'll just wiggle wire it in with this stuff. The plastic will just go right in there. And then and also you want to use Tyvek tape to always be looking for any gaps. Any little tiny gaps are going to cost you fuel. So Tyvek is the best tape for greenhouses because it sticks to plastic so well. Another thing, when you're screwing in your polygal, you want these self-tapping screws with washers. And the reason you want self-tapping is some of your screws are going right into the metal frame. So it's really good to have your self-tapping screws. And when you come to the top, you're just going to use your jigsaw. A jigsaw is the best tool to just make a smooth area. Just make sure that your piece goes up to the top. You see where we had to use a little Tyvek there because the piece that we bought wasn't quite long enough, but that's okay with Tyvek. And we just leave this one completely open in the summer so that we have more airflow, because we're going to set a fan in here to have air moving through the top, and it's going to pull in from the sides and over. Now this plastic is called Griffalon. It's from Reef Industries. It's just a plastic that's reinforced with dental floss. So this lasts like twice as long as regular plastic. One of the main features that we want here in Texas is really high walls. So you have tons of air passing through. And we made this box high enough so that we can bend in and reach plants from the sides here. So also we'll put fans in, and we'll have electric at the front and the back, just in case you want to do space heaters. We are just going to go with 5-pane propane heaters with the size of propane tanks that you can fit on a dolly. So that's how we'll heat it, and maybe have space heaters. But when we have a potting table, we like to have a lot of outlets there, so you can be charging your phone and playing your music, and having a light also. When you light your greenhouses, you can do a lot more work at night. And we had a local artist named Autumn do some paintings for us. The other house is a cholla, and this is a agave perii. Okay, so inside of your greenhouse, it's really important to manage weeds. Even though weeds are on the ground, they still get blown into your plants. So we use this solid, real thick ground fabric with nails and washers. When you try and use the landscape staples, they just bend. So it's good to get real long nails with a washer. Get that all through. Otherwise, you want to do a thick layer of gravel. This is what polygal looks like before you rip this off. And we get our polygal from Regal Plastics. And the reason why it's so good You could just wrap the whole house in plastic, but this just stays so nice, and you don't get any tears on your plastic because you're only doing your plastic over one surface rather than several wrapped surfaces, and it really holds the heat in well because it's almost like a mini greenhouse in itself with all that airspace. We are going to put these fans in at the roof just so the air is always circulating, and we'll probably also have a fan right on the person potting. When you're a happy, comfortable potter, you're going to get a lot more done. And it's the same thing with having nice tools, like we have these bins here. You have your soil right where your potting table is. I like to use my excess polygal as a potting table so that dirt isn't getting down, but I love any kind of stackable bins. We'll put perlite in this one and top dress expanded shale in that one. We just use plastic clamps in the summer to hold up the plastic. This shade cloth is called Aluminette. It reflects more heat, so if you're in a hot area like we are in Texas, you don't want to use black shade cloth if you can get and afford Aluminette. It's about double the cost, but it'll keep everything cooler. And this is about I think we do a 40% shade here, and then your plastic is always about 7%, so you figure that's about 40%, 47% shade what we're working with in the summer here.
And then what's your pallet design with the cinder blocks?
Just pallets and cinder blocks are the cheapest, easiest way to make tables. You just get a level, and you got to pound them down and make sure everything is level, and you always just split one when you're going from one to the next. You don't need to use 4 here, you just use 2 and split it, and it's just a cheap table. And whenever I'm looking for pallets, I like stuff that has no slats. I mean, the slats are really close together. When you get big gaps like this, it kind of sucks when you're putting 6 inches or 8 inches in. So to find nice ones like this is good. The reason why we wanted to do this video right now is because it's very rare to have an empty greenhouse. Usually, by tomorrow, this thing will be full, and the next one will probably be full next week.